It has been 11 days since students set up this University of Sydney Gaza Solidarity encampment. 11 days since students said enough is enough to university management. Enough with the partnerships with weapons manufacturers. Enough with the memorandums of understandings. Enough with inviting Israeli universities to our campus to spew propaganda. Enough is enough.
I want to say that I'm privileged and proud to stand with you because this is a historic moral moment. It's an issue of our times, and it's like the cases in the past of South Africa and East Timor, where the world is rising up in protest against the crimes and the atrocities which our governments and our universities are complicit in. It's very impressive to see that the students are the ones, like you and around the world, that are standing up and speaking out when everybody else is remaining silent. This is very important, and I congratulate you all, and I'm proud to stand with you. You're making history, and for me it's a particularly poignant moment. My parents were survivors of the Holocaust. Both my mother and grandmother survived Auschwitz, and they always asked, why did the world turn away? Why didn't nobody do anything? We now know the answer to that. Our leaders, our politicians and the universities are doing exactly that, and after 6 months, it's to your credit that you are standing up and speaking out so loudly. I'm very moved and impressed.
Palestine is our focus in terms of global human rights. We are defending our shared humanity, and we say not in our name.
We're here to remind everyone that Zionists do not speak for us. They claim that solidarity with Palestine and action against Israel makes Jews unsafe. But the fact is that nobody is safe when any other oppressed peoples remain an acceptable target for government violence in any state. Erasing Palestinian voices makes Zionists feel safe, lets them retreat into their fantasy of a nation state that exists outside of history, that they can belong to in a sort of metaphysical state, in a metaphysical way that excuses diaspora Jews from doing the work of building a liberated, diverse and intersectional home right here in Australia, where we live.
Last night, my son was at UCLA when the encampment was attacked by police thugs. Now, this was less than 24 hours after so-called pro-Israel thugs attacked the campus. Those thugs, when the police finally came in 3 hours after their rampage, were screaming at the cops, "We love you." And less than 24 hours, the cops finished the job and tore down the encampment and arrested numerous students. What the hell kind of university is this when the most important and proudest liberal university in the world, the University of California, is sending in cops to arrest and brutalize students and professors? This is a war on academic freedom. This is a war on freedom of expression. This is a war on humanity. And university leaders all over the world have chosen sides, and it's not our side. This is the beginning of a very long struggle, right? This is going to continue long after the current decimation of Gaza hopefully is stopped, at least for a while. And we need to be prepared for a very long-term struggle.
Under the barbaric bombs of the barbaric Zionist entity, they can hear you, they can see you, and they appreciate your work here. Please keep going. Please intensify your actions against this barbaric regime that is trying to infiltrate our educational and academic system.
Zionism is a displacement of a religious faith onto a political entity. The more Israel fails to live up to that faith, the harder Zionists have to cling to it, the more they have to justify to keep that feeling of safety it gives them. And the more they need to convince the rest of us Jews that we have to be unsafe because the alternative is that they are wrong. But we know that the safety Zionist ideology offers is a lie. It is a lie that has been bought with the blood of Palestinians for 75 years. It is a lie. It is a lie that siphons off the resources and the organizing energy of the Jewish diaspora to run interference for a corrupt government. It is a lie that allows white supremacists to use us, to use the Jewish community to launder their reputations. Because as long as they claim to stand with Israel, they don't have to stand against any of the people who actually harm us. It gives far-right anti-Semites, including some of the organizations we're up against today, the green light to indulge in racism of all forms, as long as they support Israel.
To my fellow Jews down the road, I say, where is the security in an isolated armed fortress state? Are we always to be governed by fear? The fortress of fear. That's what Zionism is. And I say, along with my sister Naomi Klein, at the fantastic Seder in the Streets last week in celebration of the Jewish Festival of Liberation. Liberation, this is what Pesach is about. And this was in the streets. And she said it was time for an exodus from this fortress, and time to abandon the false idol, the false security of Zionism.
The main message, and there should be no doubt and confliction about this message. This apartheid system, this apartheid regime has to be dismantled, and that's the main message. Decolonize Palestine.
As Naomi Klein said at that Liberation Seder, this is a time for liberation and exiting not just Zionism as a racist genocidal movement, but all racist and genocidal movements, because sadly it's only one of many.
Safety comes from activists fighting together, much like we are at this encampment, for an intersectional, liberated and decolonized community space here in Australia. Safety has to be built on a regular basis by strengthening our local communities, maintaining relationships, leaning on people and supporting people, coming together and learning from each other. Safety is in solidarity, not in isolation.
Let me say something quite explicit about the slogan which is in front of you here, from the river to the sea. I want to say something that doesn't need explaining because you all understand, but for the record and for the people down the road here who are smearing us for these slogans, let me say it quite clearly. We are standing for liberation. We are standing for justice for the Palestinians and for the Israelis and Jews from the river to the sea. This is not to annihilate anybody. It's not to get rid of anybody. It's to stand for justice and human rights. And that's why we say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.